talk about weeding your garden. We've just finished up here harvesting the last of our carrots. There's just a few left, but we left them because we didn't really need the space. But as far as weeding them, we didn't weed them like we should. Normally we'll keep the rows fairly clear, but plans were to come in and till this up. Well, the grass had got pretty good size, as you can see here, and if you look, it has these seed tops on it. Well, normally when we weed, we'll weed something real little, maybe like this fellow's over here. We'll just pull them up and we'll just throw them down in the garden and in the center of the row, let them compost. But when your weeds get a little bit large, if you don't want a whole lot of work, and it's a little extra work whenever you're weeding, but it's a whole lot less extra work later and having to weed a lot, is go ahead and pull these up, because depending on which kind of grass you have, and now you see all these hairline, or these hair roots won't bother anything. That you know, some of them will break off and go in, but if you leave any joint sections to your grass, or if you just threw this and you shook off the dirt like this and threw it in the row, there's actually enough energy in this grass that it'll reroot. And we had some of the stuff because we've had a lot of water this year. Now it's the last day of June here, but we've had, well, last I heard was 9 inches over our yearly average, and we average somewhere between 45 and 50 inches a year. So you can imagine 6 months we've got more than we would in a whole year. So with the water, these just took root again, and well, some of them, and the ones that took root started getting ready to seed. Now when you have some that's getting close to putting up a seed top, even if they don't root in, there's a lot of energy left in this plant. So if there's enough moisture, it'll go ahead and set its seeds, and chances is those seeds will come up. So realize when you weed your garden, go ahead and get rid of them if they've got any seed top. I know there's a few still over here where we haven't done it. Now I'm going to come in here today and till, and I don't want to take and plant these seeds, or with these bigger plants, there's enough energy. If they're close to the top, they're going to come back out, and then you're going to have a harder time dealing with them. It's just easier to go around, pull up the few that's too big, and then you can till in. If you till in these little ones like this, chances is they won't come. Chances are they won't come back unless it's like nut grass or something. Unless you get that nut out the bottom by the root, then it's going to come back. But make sure that when you're weeding, to make sure any grass or any kind of weed that has seed gets out of your garden. That way you're not planting the seed back. Okay, talking about weeding, now there's a lot of tools that you can use to weed. This here is a excellent tool if you have a, well, even if you have a little raised bed garden, if it's big enough to get the weeds, because this tool here will just go down and it'll cut the roots. So it's easy to use, it don't take much. It goes down, cuts the roots. The remaining plant doesn't have any roots on it, so chances is, even if it's moist, it's not going to go back. Now, when you have a bigger garden, like ours here, then we're getting kind of getting it in the process of our fall crops. Even though it's the last day of June, we want to till this a few times, so any seed that might be in there will go ahead and germinate. We'll till it under, you know, so when we do plant our crop, we don't have a problem with as many weeds or grass coming up in it. And as long as you take care of it and do that, you won't have a problem. But for most, now we'll talk about cultivators. Now cultivating tillers. Now, our cultivating tiller, and I'm not trying to do no plug for Husqvarna, but it is a Husqvarna. It has enough power. It doesn't have enough weight really, so you have to push it a little bit. We did have a Troy built, which was a little bit bigger on the back end. Now this is 17-inch till. We wanted to go to 14-inch, but the 14-inch model, smaller tires and such, and we didn't want to get down to that size. But anyway, they do make smaller cultivators. For those of you that have a garden spot, it makes it real easy just to till in between the cultivators. We like the narrow one so we can halfway get through the rows. Now when our peas and stuff start coming on and they want to lay out, well, there's no way to get between there, so we try to do most of that before they drop out that way. But the thing is to make sure that you do go in there and till that ground. What that does is, and especially here in the south, when you till beside the plant, it cuts all its feeder roots that's on the surface coming out to the side, so it encourages root growth down. When you get to the point where you have limited water from rain, it makes it the plant is already set up so that it's going to start going down deeper and getting that water. It doesn't have the top feeder roots where it would be dry and they wouldn't serve any purpose. So always cultivate. Now, our tiller, which is over here, now this is a 6-foot tiller. Yes, and it does make it a little easier with the tractor for taking less time and getting a bigger area for our garden, being it's a little bit larger. The only disadvantage, because it is so big and the tractor's as big as it is, it makes it harder to get in and around, so it's a little process for doing that. But what I want to talk about, whether it be your cultivator tiller or this tiller, underneath here where the tines are, you get vines, you get grass, you get all kind of stuff that might stay in the tiller there. So you're tilling under all these plants, you wrap up a bunch of them in your tiller, and then you get in there and you start tilling. Well, these ones that were bigger that had seed, now the seed is ready to drop. So you're going in there and you're tilling again and you're replanting it. And whether it's the large one like this or the small one. So make it a habit when you get ready to till or after you get finished tilling, clean the tines off, and that'll cut down your workload as far as on the weeding part. One of the things I want to stress about this video in weeding is it doesn't matter which direction you go as far as weed control, whether you're going to be tilling, cultivating, or you're going to be using a hoe. Just make sure that you don't plant a garden too big to keep the weeds out, because you're not going to have fun.
As you could see in some of my video, or I probably say my photo at the start with my corn, it has a lot of grass. It wasn't taken care of that year. We left on a trip, come back, we have grass come up to seed, and it takes a while to get all that seed back out of your garden. So it's best if you try to mitigate that by keeping the weeds down, and like I say, if it is seed, go ahead and take it out of your garden. That way you don't have to worry about it coming back up. You're going to have enough that blows in, or some that actually fall off before you get to it, and such as that. But this gives you a good idea of how to help control the weeds, so you won't have such a big problem with them.